Good morning, everybody. I'm Fire Lotus, and this is the daily, weekly, live morning witches chat. For the people that do not know, I do these Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Sorry, my phone started to move, and it slowly still is. Alright, well, not used to having this issue at all. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry about that. Hello. I'm Fire Lotus. I do these morning live witches chats Monday through Friday. Sweet. I will message you after this live. Actually, I got to get with you. But I do these live morning witches chats Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But here recently, I've been starting these at 10 a.m. Let's see, I also turn these into a podcast, and then every Saturday I upload all of these to my YouTube page, Fire Lotus the Witch. I gotta start this off like I normally start this off. For anybody who doesn't know, which you should know by now, this right here is some amazing sage vibrational spray. It is charged under the full moon. And it is made, good morning, it is made by my amazing friend, the Herbal Alchemist is what I call her. But she is the owner and operator of Three Sleepy Eyes Apothecary. I use this every day during my lives, after my lives, and I also use this with my craft. But you should totally check her out. She has an Instagram, a Etsy, and a Facebook page, and a Facebook group. But she does this, she does Florida water, she sells teas, herbs, tinctures. She just recently released a new herbal conditioner. So yeah, you should totally check her out. Again, that is Three Sleepy Eyes Apothecary, the last thing that I will be talking about. And then we'll actually get into today's episode. Astro Matrix. The app is completely free. If you've ever wanted a personalized horoscope, this is the app for you. It's both in both stores, the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. It's completely free. The only information you will need is the location that you were born and the exact time that you were born. You can do it without it, but it's better to have the exact time. What this does for you is it creates a screenshot, and it pulls your natal chart and your birth chart, which is a screenshot of the stars the second you were born. With this, and with this app, with the natal chart, you get to, for one, it breaks your personality down. It can predict certain life events. It can predict certain patterns of the reason that, like, certain things keep happening in your life. But the app itself actually gives you hourly updates and daily updates, of which planets are going where, stuff to look out for, how your energy is going to feel. It's an amazing app. I've been using it for about 2 years. Now about 2 years. And it has completely changed my life. And it's also kept me out of a lot of trouble and or miscommunications. So, So, that's completely free. None of what I talk about in this video is paid for. It's all free. So, for the people that have been keeping up with this, I just recently got this Backwoods Witchcraft, Conjurer and folk magic from Appalachia, and let me tell you already, if you haven't, you totally need to get it, or you need to add it to your book, especially if you are drawn to granny magic, folk magic. If you were born in the United States, and actually even if you have Scottish and or German and or European heritage, you should totally check this book out. Celebrating positive vibes, yes, and good morning and blessed be. Good morning, everybody. But I have just started reading it. I'm currently, like I said, I am a slow reader, but that's fine. I'm on page 28 to 29 in the, I think, second chapter, and holy shit, this book literally is probably going to become my #1 book. That I keep by my side, because there's every single page in this book I have either made notes or I've went back and highlighted or make some, good morning all, but I've made some type of like notes, because literally almost every single page that I've read in this book so far has some type of knowledge, information, or something that needs to be remembered, especially if you are curious about doing this type of craft. Now, for the people that buy this book expecting it to be like one of the other craft books that you can buy where like it's an actual step-by-step, yes and no. So far what I'm getting is you do get to learn, not only does he like tell you things that they did, he explains the history that he knows behind it, but I did kind of peek a little bit ahead, which I don't want to do in this particular book, but it is, and it can actually theoretically be turned into an actual like guidebook of how to set this practice into your own practice. But more exciting news, this is the second book that I ordered and that came in, and it is Folk Witchcraft, A Guide to Lore, Land, and Familiar Spirits for the Solitary Practitioner, and it is by Roger J. Horn. I actually did look at this a little bit. I kind of swiped through, and it is what I thought it was. The difference between these is this right here, he actually, like, every single page, he's telling you the history, the stories, the lore, and everything. Like, he's telling you, like, a story, basically. But through that, and through him explaining it to you, he's breaking down a lot of stuff. Honestly, if you are going to read this book, you're gonna need your phone near you. A cool thing that I started doing is a lot of the things that he brings up, or a lot of locations that he brings up in this, I've actually been Googling it. For one, there's, he starts talking about, like, the actual, like, devil and folklore. Good morning. In this particular one, and he mentions some locations in the mountains, and the majority of them you can actually just Google and they'll pop up. So it's kind of cool to actually see what he's talking about. That would have been something that's really cool that he could have, added to this, would have been, like, pictures somewhere in the back of, like, some of these locations. But, again, we do have Google now. But this book, it literally is, it's almost like a reference, like, instead of it actually being, like, broke down, like, every single thing, it's, let's see, I'll go over some of the chapters. You got lore, you got land, you got familiar spirit, family spirits, grammar, basic rites, grammar, Sabbath rites, grammar, conjures, various charms, conclusions, and, like, I like it. There is, let's see, you got tools of the art, the lady ring, to lay a simple ring, the Candlemas rite, the Midsummer rites, Conjurer, like, it's got a lot of actual, like, good information, actually, through this book, and just kind of flipping through it last night. A lot of the things, and a lot of the recipes, and, like, the why you do this, or why you do that, it's already been explained in this book, so I would definitely, yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I thought I actually silenced my phone. There we go. But, yeah. So, I'm excited, but I'm also trying to, like, actually get through this book before I actually deep dive into this book. But, yeah, on top of that, the podcast that I found on YouTube, that I posted on this story, it actually does give, like, it breaks a lot of the book down. It does give a lot of stuff away, but at the same time, there is a lot of knowledge to gain from that. And I honestly cannot wait until I get to, like, the recipes and the other things, because there's a whole bunch of shit that I've got to start collecting. But it does go over, like, the old folklores of, like, there's one, or old wives' tales that I was told growing up. There's one, it is bad luck. Actually, there is one, I don't know if it's a typo, or if it does mean what it actually states. I don't understand it, and it's a superstition that brings bad luck. Or no, it brings good luck, and apparently, if you see the new moon rise over your left shoulder, it's supposed to be good luck, but that's where I think the typo is, because as far as my knowledge, you can't actually see a new moon due to the simple fact it's blacked out. So it may have, I think he meant to say full moon, which, I mean, I'm not complaining. There are going to be typos. That's fine. There are a lot of typos in the stuff that I do. Shit, there are typos in my speech. But yeah, like, there's one that I never heard of. Dogwood. The flowers, you're not actually supposed to bring them inside because it's considered bad luck. Because for the people that don't know, the dogwood tree is heavily associated, and I don't really understand the history behind this because it doesn't grow in the part that I'm about to say, but it actually has a very, very heavy association with Christ. I've heard that dogwood was the actual wood that the cross was made out of. But the flowers, this is something very interesting. The dogwood flower itself represents, there's 5 petals, and I don't know why I never realized this, but there are 5 petals, and it's supposed to represent basically the crucifixion. But it can also represent the 5 elements, spirit, earth, air, fire, and water. But apparently bringing it inside is bad luck. It also states that another superstition to bring bad luck into the house, to burn pine wood inside, or to burn pine needles inside, is bad luck. Trust me, like, that's the reason I love this book, is because, like he states in there, he's like, when it comes to bad luck up in the Appalachians, you really, like, they really took that serious, because the majority of the Appalachian people, they're poor. And I mean, I can relate to that. Like, I'm not poor, but at the same time, you know, this world is not what it was 20 years ago. But it's that one. Another wives' tale that I know is you're not supposed to keep anything broke in your house. Like, if a plate breaks, a picture breaks, a cup breaks, you're actually supposed to throw it away. There's another one that I'm actually going to start doing that I've never heard before. I've always done one of it, but I've never done the full thing, which is a thing to keep money inside the house, to constantly bring it in, is you fill up a jar, and it can be anything. It stated in there that it was old peanut butter jars, old pickle jars, but all the change that you come across throughout your day, randomly lying around, pennies, dimes, nickels, quarters, dollars, bills, whatever, you're supposed to carry in your left pocket, and then put in this pot. You can spend the money in the pot if you have to. You're supposed to put this pot or the bottle next to your front door. But if you spend it, do not empty it. You at least, at all times, there at least has to be 7 pennies, basically 7 of everything. Or just $7 actual dollar bills. But basically, all the change or all the money you randomly find laying out, or around, you were supposed to pick up. For the people that, like, because I do the same thing, and I don't know why I do it, but if I come across a penny that's on tails, I won't pick it up, but I will flip it on heads. That way it brings luck to somebody else. You're kind of changing somebody else's luck. But it is a superstition that if you pick a penny up on tails, it brings bad luck. But yeah, there's that one. There's another one with the corn cob, and I'm very interested to research the technique behind they did it, because apparently burying a corn cob beneath your doorstep or beneath your door would bring money. But here's the catch: it has to stay dry, because if it it'll bring in luck. That's what it is. It'll bring in luck. But if it starts to mold, your mold will also spoil, or your luck will also spoil. So, like, I'm very interested to see how they actually kept it dry. And, like, with this pot, this is something I'm also going to start incorporating. If you make this little pot, this little bowl, if a crystal breaks, you're meant to give it to someone else who needs it. See, now, I've never heard of that. Thank you for telling me that, Kira, and I did not actually know that. Which means I have like 3 or 4 crystals I need to give away. But if you do make this money jar that I was talking about, you were supposed to, at the very bottom of it, you were supposed to lay down cornstarch. Apparently because it's bad luck, like, if it hits the bottom of it, and that way, it's like a nest. I think it's supposed to represent, like, your nest, to make sure, like, it's always flowing. But this book in general, like I've said, I've never picked up a craft. It has been extremely rare for me to find a pagan or craft book to where every single page from the very beginning into so far the very end, which I haven't made it that far, has had crucial, like, I've been taking notes or I've been making little marks in the book, which I normally don't do. Normally I use a highlighter, but and that's only on my personal books. But in this one right here, there's so much information on every single freaking page that, like, literally, this is going to be one of those books that are constantly with me. Because there's constant knowledge. Like, in just the small passages, in a way like the fillers, there's information about certain small things that, and I'm eventually going to make a note of them and actually, like, have one episode of where I just kind of read them out. But it explains so much, and it's very funny too, because, again, the reason that I stated, if you have German, Irish, European, Cherokee, and or slave ancestors, and if you're anywhere from around where the Appalachians are at, that's basically the Appalachian magic. It is a mix of all of them. There are, in certain parts of the Appalachians, the Changelings, which is an Irish folklore that basically I don't know what type of fae, but basically they would switch out your baby with a changeling. So you would raise its changeling while the real baby eventually dies somewhere off in the forest. That is also believed in some parts of the Appalachian. So there's a lot of Irish, Scottish, German, and European folklore that has actually still survived out there. And you also have to take into account that the Appalachians, back way before anybody, like, back when it was like Pangea and everything, and the mountains were actually done. See, I didn't want to go too much into changelings. I knew they kept the babies. I didn't know that much about changelings. And I need to do research. Honestly, the most, besides reading out of this book, that I've really known was, there was an Irish, horror movie that came out that was based around that legend. Again, I understand it's a horror movie. But, I do have to do more research on that. In the Fae realm. That's what I heard, that basically, like, they kept it in the Fae realm. There's also a few stories of banshees, in the Appalachians. Oh, I know, which is probably one of the things that I'm going to interview about when we do that interview, is the British folklore, the Fae tales, all of that, the European side. But there was a story of a banshee, and he clearly states in here, he's like, the banshee was not a negative entity. If anything, the banshee was actually protective of the humans, because they were a warning or an omen of death. They did not cause their deaths, but apparently if you were to hear a banshee screech, in the Appalachians, that basically means someone's going to die. And apparently, Jake, the author of this book, he actually had an experience like that he states. But it's very funny too, because he states that when it comes to witches in the Appalachians, because they were either called, the people that had the gift were either associated with healers, faith healers, preachers, yarb doctors, but to actually a witch in general, though, or to use that term in certain parts, it was actually kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of, it's very complicated to explain. They weren't necessarily negative, but at the same time, there are a few legends of actual witches that were just, There's one cliff that he brings up that's a tourist attraction, but there's an actual story that there's a witch that used to dance with the devil. And the devil is very strong in the Appalachians. There are certain parts that you're not supposed to go due to the fact that it's believed the devil walked there. Again, like, this book is completely, just within the short amount of time that I've had it, it's completely changed how, like, and in a weird way, it's very comforting. Like, it's like I'm hearing knowledge that I kind of already knew, but have, like, forgot about. It's very hard to explain. Which is also making me want to do more research, because I have family from Georgia, or a part of my family is from Georgia, which the Appalachians run through Georgia. So I very well could have, at some point in time throughout history, there. But I'm very also curious to see how both of these kind of change my craft. Oh yeah, by the way, we will be going over the 11th Oracle card today. We will definitely be going over that. What else was I had to say? I had a freaking gorgeous experience this morning. By the way, if I seem like really wired, it's because I'm still drinking coffee, and I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, and it's really good coffee. And I'm currently working on my second cup to the second pot. Basically, I'm over-caffeinating myself today. But I woke up early this morning because I've posted it on here, but the moon this morning, as it was setting, it was directly over our lake, but where the tree lines were at, so it was extremely low, and it was this gorgeous golden yellow, almost like honey, Halloween orange mixture, yellow, and it was directly over the lake. My phone did not pick up what it actually looked like, but there was steam rising up off the lake. There were birds down there at the thing, and like the entire lake was lit up this like yellowish light, and it was insane looking. But I took advantage of being up so early this morning. As the sun was rising and the moon was still setting, so one of those twilight moments, the moment in between, I walked outside and actually sat down and drank a cup with my ancestors, and had a very cool experience. And I don't know if this was related to me having a cup of coffee with the ancestors, but I heard gunshots in the distance, and right after that, all the crows around the lake. I should have got it on video, but it was just one of those moments where like I was so awestruck by what was happening, I didn't even think to like grab my phone. But you heard 2 gunshots go off, and it kind of echo, and then off in the distance you hear 1 or 2 crows go off, and then next thing you know, every single fucking crow around started going off and cawing back and forth. And I'd heard that crows are one of the first crows, they're smart. They're like ravens. Crows and ravens are, I would say, some of the smartest birds we have. They can recognize guns. So it has been said that if you are hunting and a crow sees it, they will start cawing to let all the other crows in the surrounding area know that there is a threat nearby. This morning I witnessed it. And it was so crazy because all the other, like, dogs and stuff like that were really quiet. So all you heard were different types of crows and different, like, from different distances around my property and around the lake cawing to each other. And I don't know why, but, like, in that moment, it was very, very, like, I guess surreal. And I guess it was just, like, I literally stopped and I was just like, Mother Nature, like, you're amazing. I don't know why that was just so fascinated, but it was insane. But everybody should be feeling the energy today. I know I am already, because tonight is technically the first night of the 3 nights of the full moon. Tonight it will be 99% full. Tomorrow, though, is the lunar eclipse in Cancer during the wolf moon. So I am going to light the community candles. I'm probably not going to do a live while I do it. Just because it's a lot of connecting with energy and everything, and I want to make sure, because I have one other spell to do with the candles separately, but so like I'm trying to make sure I focus on that. Eventually though, I will be doing in February, I know for a fact I will be doing another community candle. So yeah, I don't want to like exert myself too much, because that New Year's was an amazing experience, but I also like slightly overextended myself. And that's also why I think for like a day or two afterwards, I took like a couple of times to kind of reserve myself and like recharge. Oh, that is so cool. It doesn't shine here on my property. Or yeah, in any of the windows, there's one or two times during the year it'll go by, like I'll be able to see it rise during the living or in my living room window. But I do sometimes, if not runes, because I do use runes, but I only use them on certain things, or when I have a feeling to use them. I do work a lot with sigils, and I do put a lot of oils, especially the eclipse oil that I made. I'll anoint some of my candles or dress some of my candles, and then the majority of all my candles that have herbs on them or around them, I'll dress it in oil and then put the herbs on there. But since that storm system hit and it like kind of took out some of the foliage that we had above our house from the trees, my top steps, because our porch, it's like higher up than most of the property around, so like the steps are very high. But there's this small plateau to where it's risen above. And before, the trees were covering up the night sky, so I could not see the moon from my porch. Now, though, on the top steps, I can actually sit there at night around 8 to 9 o'clock, and that's when I'll actually start seeing the full moon, which is awesome for those days that I don't have it in me to, like, drag all my stuff outside. I can drag my stuff outside on the porch. And it's kind of funny because, like, when that storm happened, I was like, oh shit, like, you know, it destroyed everything. Only did I realize that the land spirits, I guess, or Mother Nature had a plan of what to do. It is very weird, though, because apparently all the energy that we had been giving out to the world and everything like that has kind of started working, apparently. Everything that was happening with the U.S. and overseas has slightly calmed down. So that's good. Hopefully we don't wind up ending up in a fucking World War III. Australia is they still have fires, I believe. But America finally did step up, and our government actually sent them some money. Or no, we sent them firefighters. Yes, that was a powerful New Year. I've ever felt the power that went out that night. It was amazing. Yes, it was. It was totally amazing. And one of these nights, at some point this year, I want to do that again, but slightly different, because I actually want to do it outside in my circle. Like, I want to cast this circle. I may not do everything live, because I'm very, when it comes to me actually practicing, I'm very, very, not really shy, but like, I don't know, I'm very particular about who actually watches when I do it or not. Actually, there hasn't been a lot of people that's actually seen, besides the stuff that I've done live before, Fullon Ritual and everything, there hasn't been that many people that actually see me do it. And that's just because, honestly, that too, I'd never do it the same. I've had certain points in my path where I have, like, used the same opening for every circle that I've done. But, it's always different. It's very weird, too, because there are some circles where I won't call all quarters, but I'll actually cast a circle. And then there are some circles... It is so personal, and, like, and if what I'm about to say, because I think I've done it once or twice, but, like, there are some YouTube videos out there of people, like, fully showing their full-on personal Book of Shadows and grimoires. And, like, to do 1 or 2 pages, that's okay, because you're making sure, like, they're not seeing everything. They're only seeing 1 or 2 things. But there are some people that, due to the aesthetic look that they use, that fits them, they like to show it off, and that's fine. But at the same time, it's like you just said, personal, magic is very personal. Same with your Book of Shadows and everything like that. So, like, the videos on YouTube where they're doing a full-on view and showing you everything in their Book of Shadows, I kind of see, like, I'm not okay with that. Like, at all. Now, there is true enough, like I've stated before, what you see, or what I post in my videos, or pictures, or anything like that, see, I've shown a few pages, but there's stuff in there that I won't show anyone. Exactly, and see, that's what I've done. I've shown a few things, but I make sure you see what I want you to see. I've been asked before, like, why do you use so many filters when you're doing spells and stuff like that? I use the filters because, again, it hides what I don't want you to see. You only see what I want you to see. Now, there is one particular journal or recipe book that I have been showing off, just due to the simple fact, like, the recipes aren't really that secret, and I make sure you really can't, like, see what I've written, but I'm showing it off because a new thing that I discovered, I don't know why I'd never done this before, considering I am an artist and I use paint all the time. I had this old journal that I got for, one of my birthdays, I think my 26th birthday, and, like, I'd never actually, like, dedicated it for an actual purpose. So earlier, I think actually before the new year, I started coloring it with watercolor, and I was like, wait, I really like this. So that has become my new recipe book, and that's the reason I'm showing it off, is because you can make a regular journal look insane with watercolor, and the way that it dries, you do have to, like, separate the pages. So, like, what I've been doing is I'll normally do 1 or 2 pages a day. But the last time I did it, I actually drug out my hairdryer. So, like, I would do a page, do everything on it, and then I would actually blow dry it and make sure it's completely dry. And then do on the next one. But, like, this gold paint that I use, that I get from our Dollar General for $1, it's insane of how well it, like, looks. Like, it really does give, like, if I could get that paint enough to paint this entire room in it, I would. That is my ultimate goal, is to have one room in my house that is gold. And the reason that is, I got it from, I'm having that moment where, like, the words are not coming to my tongue, but they're in my head, Bridge to Terabithia, the movie and book. That scene where they painted that living room, or that room, that gold shimmering paint, and the sun hit it, and it, like, lit up the entire room gold. I want that so much, and that's eventually what I plan on doing. Well, not in here. The actual room, the plan that I actually have for this craft room is, we have this, I hate this paneling because I've lived with it for so much, but it's that fake, like, almost pine wood paneling, that are in, like, older style homes and trailers. That is what my craft room walls are. So my plan is to find some cheap fabric or tapestries, and my actual plan is to find gold and black fabric and cut them into, like, rectangles, and just actually hang them up to do it black gold, all in the house. That is the best to do, because some people can use your spells, again, if they don't like what you were doing. Exactly. And that's what I keep trying to tell people is, your magic and the stuff that, like, you show online and social media and stuff like that. Now, what I mean by that is, if, like, with my spells and stuff like that, a lot of the times I do, like, actual post videos of me doing them. And then a lot of the times, depending on the spell, I won't post it until after the spell itself is done. And that's just because you have to think, what do we teach in magic? What do we know about magic? Thoughts and words are power. So therefore, if you're posting all your work and you're not giving it a time to process, depending on how you look at your craft, people that are jealous or people that don't like it or anything like that, those negative comments that they speak verbally or think could affect your magic. Now, the reason that I showed the eclipse magic or those community candles was because due to just the sheer fact of everything that was used in it, and due to the fact of all of y'all and all of our ancestors, I believe that those are protected, that and it's a community candle. So it's kind of hard not to show that. But any customer spells or anything like that, I may and may not share them, but I won't share any details about them. Like, I'll just share a picture. And that's also because, and one of the reasons I use my Instagram like that is also, it's to show people that magic changes, your magic changes, your style is going to change, and you don't have to follow what has been fucking taught to so many people, that, you know, it has to be done this way. If you look on my Instagram or any of my pictures of my magic, you can obviously tell I don't follow any specific path. I follow what comes naturally to me, and that is true magic. Now, if you do follow a specific path or something like that, of course, you know, there is a reason that I follow the craft that or the path that I do follow. I don't like structure, and the structure that I do like, I like to make that structure. I don't like that structure to be made by somebody else, because it's not going to fit me. But again, that's not the case for everybody, and that's okay. It's completely okay. But, like, I don't know, it's very weird, not to mention any names at all, but I'm currently helping somebody, and it's very weird, too, because, like, I'm talking to somebody that basically, and I'm pretty sure other people who do readings have had this problem, but basically, or I'll do story time, there we go. So, there's this person that, was doing tarot readings, and apparently she gave a reading, or they gave a reading, I'm gonna say they instead of he or she, they gave a reading, and the other person that received that reading did not like that reading, apparently because it wasn't the outcome that they wanted. Which, if anybody has given any type of readings like that, oracle, tarot, runes, anything like that, I'm pretty sure you've had that experience. I know I have. I mean, they didn't necessarily, like, cuss me out or anything like that, but you could tell that they were not happy, that they kind of had a preconceived idea of what they wanted the cards to say. And tarot and oracle cards don't work like that. Like, there's a reason we use them. If you go do a reading with a preconceived idea of what that reading is, then it's going to mess it up. You're not going to listen to it, you're not going to take anything from it, because you're going to be upset because it was a preconceived idea. And that, in general, in life, is a very, very good lesson that I myself had to learn in a couple of areas, which is, it's not always a good idea to get a preconceived thought or preconceived idea. Now, I'm not talking about manifesting or anything like that. But, with certain things, if you think about it too much in your head of how things are going to turn out, and they don't turn out like that, you're theoretically kind of setting yourself up for failure. It's best to go in it with a positive mind state, but don't get preconceived ideas of how this is. And that, of course, that also goes with your spell work. Now, what I mean by that is when you're going to do a spell, of course, you're going to have the desired thought and the desired outcome of how it's going to do. But when it comes to the details, don't focus too much on the specific way that you have it in your head of how you want that spell to affect. And what I mean by that is what I've said before. When you're asking for, like, stuff, when you're manifesting stuff into your life, don't just think about you getting them. Start thinking about all those different ways of how it could come into you, or it could fall into your lap. Or what events could lead you to either meeting that person that can help with what you need, or, you know what I see what I mean? So it's not just about the desired outcome as much as how you can get that, or how the universe can help bring it to you. And with that, with magic and with the universe, it's give and take. You can do as many spells as you want, but at the same time, you're still going to have to meet the universe or meet the creator, however, whatever you word it, you're going to have to meet it halfway. If you do a job spell or a love spell or a relationship spell, or if you get one of those spells done for you and you sit at home and still continue your normal routine, nothing is going to change. You have to change your routine in order to bring change into your life. So, like, if I did a love spell for someone to find their perfect mate and they sit at home or just use a dating app or something like that, it may not work. Now, that's another thing that people need to take into account when it comes into love magic is things are not like they were back in the 1500s. You know, if I do a love spell and lay down flower petals and have Prince Charming walk my way, it doesn't necessarily work that way due to the simple fact, you know, we don't travel or show up at people's houses. Nowadays, we just send somebody a text message or, you know, a swipe right or swipe left. You have to kind of incorporate that into your craft as well. You know, times are changing. With music, for example, songs. If you find a song and you like the lyrics, that's a fucking spell right there. If those lyrics fit the type of magic that you were trying to do. By the way, I did not say this. Any loud noises, any loud cars, trucks, rumbling, chainsaws, any construction sounds, it's the fucking tree crew. They're back. And then I think my neighbor's getting something from Sears or Lowe's or something. So, yeah, there's a lot of commotion outside. I normally say that earlier. Also, if you hear a cat meow, that is Slicker, my familiar. He's a teenager, so he has an attitude about being locked out of the craft room. And if you hear a dog, it's my neighbor's dog. They have sheep. He guards the sheep, so he barks at everything. Yeah. And nothing else should happen, knock on wood. But you have to start incorporating that into your practice. It is the 21st century. You know, we do send emails and use text messages and all this other shit instead of, you know, like when I was a kid where if I wanted to hang out with a friend, I would either call over there to make sure they're at home or just show up. Something like that. And then I would just walk over. Now, you know, text message, Skyping, all this other shit. And see, that's one of the reasons I like these books is because it's kind of a way to incorporate the old in with the new, but still be able to pass on those legends and lore from the old. But fucking, there was something else that I found yesterday, and I cannot think of it. Apparently, it was not important at all. When I do spells, I will forget about it until something comes about it, and I think it makes more power out of it for. Exactly, and that's what I was always taught in magic, which is when you do a spell, you're supposed to forget about it. Now, I do know, like, if you're like me, I have ADD and ADHD on top of extreme anxiety. So, like, there are a lot of times that it is taking me a while, and it still depends on, with my bipolar, what mind state that I'm in. But it is taking me so much to, like, stop obsessing over spells. But yes, like you said, it is best to forget that you even did it until something comes out of it. Because again, if you have a preconceived idea of when this is supposed to take effect, and it doesn't, then you're going to start doubting it, and yeah, it's like the post that I shared yesterday. Like right now, think back to when you were still manifesting every single thing you have setting around you. To me, I very vividly can. 2016, 2017, I can remember, 2018 when I was in Alabama, taking care of my grandmother, I wanted to do videos like these, but on Instagram. But I did not have the cell service, the phone that I had wasn't up with it, and it just didn't happen. See a new tech, for instance, a bead maker. As you get older, you might not be able to mix as well, but you can bless the bread maker. You still have intent with the ingredients. Yes, exactly. Kieran, that is perfect. That is the perfect example of how to bring the 21st century. Exactly. As you get older, instead of using a mortal and pedestal like you normally would, a bread maker, or a coffee grinder. Find a cheap coffee grinder and specifically dedicate it for grinding herbs and stuff like that. I actually have only made one type of bread. No, I've made two types of bread, and never from scratch. My partner did. My partner actually has made bread. It was a lavender lemon bread, I think, from scratch, like everything from scratch. I've only made pumpkin bread, pumpkin spice bread, which is my favorite, and then I've made, I think it was banana nut bread, or it was apple cinnamon, one of the two. But yes, that's a perfect way you can bring that in, because I'm pretty sure, the witches way back then, like, if they had the option, no. I would say if they had the option to use a grinder, I'm pretty sure they would. Actually, no, wait, that's a perfect example, too. A grinder. It's kind of 21st tech, but you're not using electricity and you're still having to use your hands, but grinders work very well for regular herbs as well. Now, I would not suggest using the same grinder for both herbs, the herbs that you use in your craft, and then whatever herbs you smoke. I wouldn't do that. Like, I would have a separate one. I know people who actually they go out and they have a specific craft lighter that they only use during magic. They have a specific grinder that they either grind their herbs with, or it's dedicated, and they have a special ceremonial pipe that is dedicated, that, when they smoke that, or whatever they smoke out of it or use it, it is dedicated for the ancestors and or gods and goddesses, or whatever their path, whatever they look up to. I know when I first started the craft, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I thought I did, the 5 deities, I guess, that I created, that I used to look up to, Merlin. None of these make sense, but none of these fit together. But Merlin, the Raven, Sarah Good, I think it was the Wolf, and I want to say a Hawk, I think. Those were the 5 things that, I primarily worked with when I first started in the craft. Again, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but it worked for me. Which, the Merlin thing, one of the reasons the Merlin was so, was because, before I actually started seriously practicing the craft, I had Dragonology and the, not Merlinology, but it was the Wizard book, and it told Merlin, and it had that. So, I did incorporate some of the things that I learned in that book. I did incorporate that into my craft, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But, yeah, Merlin was, I guess he was the Lord, or the father aspect, and Sarah Good, for some reason, when I first read the Salem Witch Trials, I was so drawn to her. I still am. And then I also love, I believe it was Sarah Good, I could be wrong, but the phrase that she stated when she was, sent to the gallows, which was, how do you plead? And she goes, I am no more a witch than you are a wizard, and if you take my life, God will give you blood to drink. Well, a few years later, God gave him blood to drink. He choked, he had a aneurysm in his throat or something, and he choked on his own blood. So, and that right there, though, that's not really a curse, as much as it's, actually, that is kind of how, in, the Appalachian folklores, how they saw it. They didn't believe in good, bad, bullshit like that. They basically, he states, an eye for an eye makes the whole world round, or something. Basically, it states that, and there is a chapter in the book that I heard in the podcast, but they state, you don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you. Basically, you stay to you, I stay to me, we're fine. But, if you fuck with my family, or you fuck with me, well, payback's a bitch. I'ma fuck you back too. And that's kind of how I see it. I stay to myself, I do as much healing as possible. But at the same time, if someone fucks with someone I love, or someone fucks with my friends or family or anything like that, I do know certain things to fuck their lives up. But I don't want to, because I'm trying so hard. 2018 was when I started. 2019, I started actually really doing it. I've got my partner into it. We're trying to do everything we can and not really put bad karma out there. We're trying to basically, we stay to ourselves. And it works for us. Like, it legit does. And I've noticed that, you know, when it's very true. Once you start changing, and when I mean change your mind thought, or change your perspective into, like, being positive, I don't mean when, like, literally your world is crashing down around you, just be like, oh, that's a pretty orange. No, I don't mean that, because we all need our certain amount of time to freak the fuck out, and then we need to go back to, okay, got that out of me, got that freak out. Okay, now, let's get, okay, so, everything so far that I've needed, or anything that has come up, some way, by the end of the day, or by the end of that deadline, the universe and the ancestors have helped me provide, basically, I was provided with what I needed. And that is something that I started incorporating back in 2018, yes, and see, that's how it's supposed to be. But I started in 2018 with, I used to be like, when I did like spells and stuff like that, like, I used to not really, when it came to money and stuff like that, I didn't really understand it, but for some reason I started wording it to where I don't want to be rich. At no point in my life do I ever want to be like filthy rich. I want to live comfortable. I just want to be in a comfortable space. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to have more than I need. I just want to have enough to make sure that Monday through Friday, month by month, week by week, I have enough, and me and my partner both have enough to basically get by, to make sure the bills are paid, to make sure we have enough food, to make sure, you know, we have things that we need, and that's it. And I started incorporating that instead of saying, you know, I just want money, I want finances, I want this, I want savability, I want that. And it started, honestly, it's gotten that way. The life that I have right now, the mine and my partner's, like, way of life that we have right now, I wanted this 4 years ago. 3 years ago. We both did, but we were both young, stupid, and naive, and we didn't know how to get there. Now we're finally getting there. We have a few arguments every now and then, but nothing like we did before. Every couple fights. But what I meant by the whole positive thing is, my partner himself, he's even told me, he's like, you know, you've finally done it. Like, you wore me down to the point where I may have my moment where I freak the fuck out or I get really irritated, but he goes, at the end of the day, I know that it's going to be okay. He goes, I don't know how you do it, and I don't know how it's done, but he goes, there have been a lot of moments where, like, I was about to just lay my head down and be like, fuck it all, you know, screw it. And then he's like, at the very last moment, it came through. And I said, that's just because I have faith. I have faith that, you know, at the end of the day, somehow, some way, what I need will be provided. But that's also one of the reasons I've been giving back as much as possible. Due to my issues that I have going on in my circumstances, I don't get to interact with people that much. And I'm kind of a hermit in a way. But I realized, as much as this technology irritates the fuck out of me, especially the, like, addiction that everybody has to it, but I realized, oh shit, wait, and of course it was, like, basically the moments leading up to me doing these, I was pushed, bugged, but all in a positive way. And I took my time with it, like I do with normal things in my life. If I'm serious about them, I take my time. Like, when me and my partner first started talking, I made him talk to me before a year before we even actually started dating, or even physically said, besides I like you, the whole I love you thing, which I had never done prior to meeting him. I was always, when I was younger, I was that freaking, and I guess it may be the Aries aspect and the passion, but, you know, I was that type of person where, like, when I liked you, I fell head over heels, I fell fast, and I was stupid, naive, and unexperienced. But when that last relationship that I got out of before I met my partner that I'm with now, I was like, no, I'm doing this shit different. I'm not jumping into a relationship. I'm going to give myself a year to kind of just fucking be single, and let's see where it goes. And we're together this February, technically, because February is when I actually moved down here. This February, like the third week in February, will be technically, because we have multiple anniversaries just due to the simple fact we've gotten together, broke up, gotten together, broke up, gotten together, all this shit. But I always go back to the date that I moved down here. So it'll be like, I think 6 or 7 years, actually, legit, since I've lived here. I will actually have to go back and do some digging on that to make sure. By the way, if y'all probably haven't realized, my timing and, like, my measurement of time, or my concept of time is different. I don't know why, but no. Like, a year ago to me could have actually been 4 months ago. It's like, the older that I'm getting, I guess just because, like, how my life is, a lot of the times, like, everything is blurred together. Because, like, I don't have a lot of the constant reminders, today's Monday, today's Tuesday, today's Wednesday. And since my situation's like this, like, a lot of the times, like, 1 week, or 1 month can actually legit feel like a week to me. Or vice versa, 1 week can feel like a month to me. It used to drive my partner crazy, actually, because he's like, we haven't been together that long. And then he realized it's just my concept of me telling time or keeping time is really bad. But I mean, it works for me. And honestly, we're to the point where I legit feel like we're married. We bicker and argue like we're married. But I mean, we've also had our ups and downs, and through me, though, actually, he has experienced a lot of the craft. In a very weird way, too, and he's very surprising and very shocking at times and points. But, yeah, anyways. I'm a little off today, and I don't know why. It may be the eclipse. I don't know. Just a little off. But we have the eclipse coming up, and there is something else. With that, though, and what you could do tonight if you wanted to, you could make charged water tonight, just regular moon water, and then tomorrow you can do the eclipse moon water. Normally, though, with me, and I don't think this is an actual thing where it's called all the time, but, I call any lunar eclipse, I automatically call that a blood moon. Just due to the simple fact, if you're actually visibly seeing it, the moon turns red. With that, though, we are supposed to be having a new moon at some point this year. Now, that particular, if you don't know what a new moon is, and I may butcher this, and I may get it wrong, but I don't think I am. A new moon is either when, in 1 month, you have 2 full moons, but I think it's actually, when you have 2 new moons in 1 month, that's what a blue moon is. Because it's very rare that it happens. Well, it's supposed to be very rare until, like, fucking 2017, until it started happening constantly. But that, and I will actually get the date and make a post about it. But, the reason that is very special is because that's where the phrase, you know, once in a blue moon comes from. So, if you do, or if you were to collect moon water from that blue moon and label it, you could use that in wish spells due to the simple fact it's like that 1 in 1 million of chance, bam. Also, something that I learned in the Appalachian, the Backwoods Witchcraft book, that is very interesting. A blue moon is where 2 full moons is in a month. Okay, thank you. It was 2 full moons. two new moons, though, it's also called something. It has a special name. I don't know what it's called, but it has a name to when it's very rare too. But it's where two new moons are actually in the same month. But in this, apparently because it goes over some talismans that are good luck, and the Appalachians, they were not squeamish people. So there are a lot of interesting remedies and charms that they used to use. For example, apparently if you have a toothache, they would get rabbit brains and rub on their gums, and apparently it would take away toothaches. I wouldn't suggest it, although it does. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm kind of curious about, like, how they even came up with that idea. Like, were they, you know, skinning and processing a rabbit and, like, accidentally, like, you know, like, got it on its tooth or whatnot? But apparently, now, of course, the original, what I'm about to state, the original, they didn't really, discern if it was willing or if it was by nature. But the author himself actually goes back and he's like, it has been changed. Like, there's a more modern version of where, it was naturally dyed. But basically, apparently, a skeleton of a black cat is lucky. Especially its left paw or right paw. It's right paw. Its right paw is lucky. Now, again, that has been adapted to where it's supposed to be, like, it can be a naturally deceased black cat. But back then, I'm assuming if you needed it, well, you know. Which, I mean, I've always... Thank you, a black moon is 2 new moons. Okay, thank you. I always got them confused. Okay, so, a blue moon is when 2 full moons are in 1 month, and a black moon is when 2 new moons are in 1 month. Thank you so much for that. But, yeah, they go into a lot of, interesting things, and see, that's what I'm still... My next book, that I'll be getting, that I'm going to be trying to find, is more on hoodoo. I have a few that I've got to look at the reviews and everything that's more on hoodoo. This goes over it because this right here is a mixture of, and it states it, it's a mixture of voodoo, hoodoo, conjure, folk magic, and granny magic, which folk magic and granny magic is kind of the same thing, mixed with slave magic, or, I hate saying slave magic, but African American magic, Native American magic, Irish magic, German magic, and European magic, all kind of in the same mixing pot. So, this book should speak to a lot of people, honestly. And if you grew up in any southern states, it should also speak to you. But I want to get a book on hoodoo to learn about, like, the, chicken's feet, that apparently is a charm. And then I want to find, which I'm actually having a hard time finding because I haven't actually, like, come across one, but I want to find one that has to do with swamp magic. I'm pretty sure it's going to wind up having to be like a Louisiana voodoo book due to that swamp, but yeah, I want to focus on swamp magic. These two, the folk magic, living off the land and everything, and mixing that. So, like, I am very excited, which both of these go into those. Like, with granny magic, there's another one that I will be looking up on how to do, but it's the apple doll, and you actually, like, shrink an actual apple. You dehydrate an actual apple by baking it, and, it, like, shrivels up into this old woman's, like, face, and then you actually make a doll of it. And then it can be used as a puppet. Or just a protection charm. But there are a lot of the granny aspect in this is, or what I would consider out of this book, the granny aspect, there's a lot of tricks of sewing. For example, apparently, This is something I also have to get my hands on because it came up yesterday 3 random times. I was searching online and it randomly came up, this ingredient, and then it eventually actually came up in this book. But apparently, wood that was struck by lightning is a very, very powerful tool and or talisman. In Appalachian belief, they believe that basically it is a gift from the divine because it has the energy of lightning. But I found it on Etsy, like they were selling it, and I'm like I've thought about it and I've heard about it, but I had no idea it was into this. But another one is an oak tree, oak bark, and that being wrapped around with red twine can be hung up in the house for good luck, because apparently oak was also associated with Jesus. I don't know how I feel about that either. Like the whole, I still don't know how I feel about the actual Christianity, and I don't know why either, because like I haven't really picked up or done anything Christian in so long, but for some weird reason deep down inside, like I'm still very hesitant of actually using the prayers, because see, I've mixed different religions before into my practice, but I've never done something like that. Like, it's been more of, like, statues or a cross or something like that. I've never legit get a book called Earth Wisdom. I've actually heard of that. I will look that up, actually, after this. I need to make a note. Where did my pen go? There we go. But I will look that up right after I get done with this. But, I'm also very curious about the different types of waters they have, because, I mentioned it yesterday. They mentioned something that is, stump water. But apparently, depending on the region of Appalachia, it actually varied, depending on the waters. Another thing is, to stop bleeding, a rag that you can do, or to make a rag, like, hold on, there was one that I read last night that was just insane. Let's see. The White House is now live. Don't drink it. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, at any point in time, if I talk about stump water, or any type, wait, why not collect it? I haven't heard this. But any type of rainwater, okay. I will have to look into that. Wait, that's tied in with Fae, right? Where'd it go, though? Here we go. Listen to some of this. Like, I don't know why, but I love it. Blackberry Winter. Oh, these are different seasons. Hold on. Where did it go? Tadpole minnows. They have different seasons up in the Appalachians. I made a doll and sewed an acorn in her head for her brain and would faint to her. Seemed to calm me down. Yes. Okay, Kieran, I thought it had something to do with the Fae. And yes, see, stuff like that. I'm actually, planning on, I have to get some more polymer clay. Alright, see you soon. But and the other dolls that I've been showing you, the little fetishes, I think that's what I'm gonna call them, that I've been creating, I plan on putting something inside of them as like a heart. I originally stated it was going to be a crystal. And then once I get more polymer clay and more crystals, I'm going to make my other little, crystal creatures. I haven't come up with a name for them yet. But they're like that. Like, the ones that I've made so far, just looking at them normally brings, like, peace to the person who looks at them. Where'd it go? There we go. Black waters. But no, back in the day. There we go. Superstitions and charms. The witch, on the other hand, superstitions believed. Protection. Was it this one? Yars hunk. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. One such superstition calls for a 7-year-old girl to spin thread on Good Friday, Sunday, or Christmas Day. It varies based on location and family tradition. This thread was then sewn into the hem of breeches and shirts to guard one from disease, evil spirits, and curses. After the children and elders, your own self is next in line. There are a number of things that you can do for protection. Carry an iron nail in your left pocket to protect yourself from active of the little folk, which the little folk in this book, or if I'm talking about it, it's Fae. Or something, the Appalachian Fae, I'll say that. Or wrap a horseshoe in aluminum foil and hang it over the door. What's insane was I had no idea that the whole aluminum foil wrapped over it was actually from Appalachia. Because I grew up seeing it in a lot of my family members' houses, either that or it was just a regular horseshoe turned upwards. Never downwards, because upwards it makes sure the luck never runs out. Let's see. A horseshoe wrapped... Oh, here we go. Here's a new one. A horseshoe wrapped in red cloth and hung upside down from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday would help get rid of haints. I'll discuss this rite in more detail in Chapter 6. So, Chapter 6, he's referenced that like 4 times. So, it's going to be a very, very good chapter. Now, with the hot foot powder, I did release in the group that I have. Yes, I do know, because I think Judy, I think you were the one that commented on there, and I don't think I responded to it. Yeah, of course, I did want to also state this too. You mentioned to me that using hot foot powder can be very, very dangerous. And yes, you were 100% right. And the reason that is because depending on how you use it, and depending on if you are using it, because I did recently find out there are other uses for it besides banishing, it's depending on how you make it. The most simple first original recipe that I learned was basically salt, pepper, somebody's name written down on a piece of paper, burned, turned into ashes, mixed with salt, pepper, and chili flakes. But be extremely careful with using that due to the simple fact what you're supposed to do is either A, put it down in a path that somebody you want to walk out of your life, be basically banished from your life, will walk over it, or put it in their, or not put it in their footprint, collect dirt from their footprint or shoe print and add that to it and then have them walk over it. But with that, any other person that crosses that hot foot powder will also walk out of your life. And talking about superstitions like that, here's some that I know of. I don't necessarily believe, although one time it actually did happen to me. Relationship-wise or love-wise, you're not supposed to buy your partner a watch, because basically that's the time that they have left in the relationship. There's another one, you're not supposed to buy your partner shoes, because the shoes that you buy them will be the shoes that they walk out of your life in. That actually did happen to me. I don't know if it's a coincidence, I don't know if it was self-sabotage, but I bought my partner a pair of boots, and like a month and a half later, we separated, and he was wearing the boots. Another one with the whole clock thing, I did not know this until, I was, kind of dating a guy, whatever you want to call it. Nothing serious, but he bought me a hourglass. It was a, black, like, gothic style hourglass with black sand, and it had pentagrams and roses on it, but, it fell off my altar and broke. Actually, as I was bringing it home, about to put it on my altar, it fell out of my hands and crashed down and broke. But shortly after that, we broke up. Our relationship and all the connections that I had to him just kind of dissolved. Shortly after that, I was told that If you're with someone and you buy them a watch, you're basically buying the time that you have with them. There's the other one for New Year's. Don't wash clothes on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, or dry clothes, because basically you will wash somebody out of your life. There's the Christmas tree one. You're supposed to take your Christmas tree down by New Year's Day, or it's bad luck. Black-eyed peas and collard greens, both to bring in good luck, prosperity, and wealth through the coming year. And, like, it makes sense now, understanding and how he describes and breaks the history down. Like, it's no longer, the way he did this book, it's no longer, like, it doesn't really, it does leave you with some questions, but a lot of them are answered because it makes sense. Like, they were very non-wealthy people due to the simple fact that they were so isolated. So, I can totally see, imagine it being New Year's Day, and you cooking for the first time, you cooking collard greens and black-eyed peas, and then shortly after that, you coming into a large amount of money. Or you having a very prosperous year. Somehow that was attached, and bam. So, like, I completely understand that. And I love the fact that he's like, this needs to be brought back into teaching, because if not, all these old, amazing legends and stories and, ways of living, they're going to die. They're going to die off. Which is a very bad thing. God knows how much history we've lost already, due to the Trail of Tears, if I could talk today, and then all the other stuff that has happened. I did it again, people. 11/11. I don't know why, but sometime for the past week, actually, yeah, I think almost every day this week that I've been doing my live, I always look at my phone at 11/11. Validation. Which is awesome, because today's Oracle card is 11. But, here we go. Today's card, and this is the Spirit of the Will. I said it wrong yesterday again. Spirit of the Will Meditation Oracle deck. Today is the 11th card, which is South. Shadowness, lessons, growth, and trust. Prophecy. You have reached a significant stage in your own growth. Inner transformation occurs because you have outgrown the parts of yourself that are no longer serving your higher good. You are always discovering the power of the self. The South represents the emotional material divide from life's lesson. The fire of the South hurls a time of much achievement. Facing your fears is never an easy task, but it is now within your power to control fear. Be gentle with yourself and feel good about where you are. Learn to love yourself and others unconditionally. Lessons can be painful at times, so we should not always take ourselves too serious. When we lighten up on life and on ourselves, we can see things from a healthier perspective. Learn to trust the divine plan. In time, when you look back on different experiences, you will understand the importance of the lessons learned. The prayer, or affirmation. Spirit powers of the South, teach me to love and grow through the gentle fires of compassion. Help me to learn to trust in Great Spirit's plan to view life's lesson with the understanding that my mind, heart, and spirit are one. Now that right there was a perfect lesson. For one, it is affirmation that you've come very, very far. But on top of that, it's basically what I've been saying. I think I actually said it yesterday, with the retrogrades and everything like that, and kind of just set it on look back of everything that you used to want, and now that you have those things that you used to manifest. It's that if you actually look back on all the events that have happened in your life, I guarantee you, if you look hard enough, you will find connections and lessons of why that had to happen for you to understand that. And it can be certain events will happen or can happen only to prepare you for another event that is coming in the future. In a way, it's like the universe is trying to like build you up or kind of build your guard up for when something big does happen, you know how to handle the situations. But with that, I think that was the perfect way to end this video today. I don't think today was that long of a video. But I feel like I got what I was supposed to get, out. So yeah, tomorrow is Friday, the eclipse and full moon. But again, tonight you can still collect the rainwater. So yeah, with that, I'm going to close this out. I hope y'all all have a magical morning, noon, and night. Or, you know, I don't know your life. You could be going to work, going to sleep, staying home. I don't know. But either way, if you see this now, or if you see this, or if you hear this on a podcast, I hope you all have a magical morning, noon, or night. And yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace, and thank you so much for everybody who has joined me today and is commenting, and just, yes, thank you so much.